US President Joe Biden has had a difficult time mentioning Elon Musk's company Tesla when speaking about the transition to electric vehicles. This is strange given that Tesla is the primary reason that the United States is even on the global playing field when it comes to EVs, having demonstrated that electric vehicles offer a viable path to transitioning the world to sustainable energy and forcing the entire industry to follow suit. Within the US itself, Tesla sells an insane 3 out of every 4 electric cars that reach customer hands. However, instead of recognizing this major accomplishment, Joe Biden has instead heavily sided with the Detroit automakers General Motors, Ford, and Stellantis, formerly Chrysler, especially given that they are backed by powerful unions that Elon Musk has hinted may play a factor in controlling the president's teleprompter. While it's important to support the major automakers in the country, there's no sense in snubbing the largest, most forward-thinking player and casting them aside in order to invest in those who have proved to be quite stagnant over the years. One of Biden's priorities is to electrify the nation's automobile fleet, which would be very difficult to do within the coming decades without Tesla's help. Now, according to Reuters in an article from June of this year, the Biden administration actually reached out to Tesla early on in order to involve the company in one of its key policy pushes to try and help the EV industry. The Environmental Protection Agency is expected to propose changes to the renewable fuel standards later this year. These standards currently require fuel sold in the United States to contain minimum volumes of renewables such as corn-based ethanol. It's possible that these policies are expanded to include credits for electric car makers, charging companies, as well as landfills that produce renewable biogases. This aims to push the president's goal of getting 50% of new cars sold in the US to be electric by 2030 and to add 500,000 charging stations across the country by that time. While Reuters cites the White House and the EPA reaching out to Tesla, according to emails that they've seen, to discuss these types of policies, Elon Musk has been very public about stating that the government should simply end all subsidies, including those given to the fossil fuel industry, effectively creating a level playing field. Tesla has been eclipsing the US auto industry without the use of EV tax credits from the government, albeit many of its competitors still receive a tax credit of up to $7,500 per vehicle sold. Furthermore, Tesla continues to add approximately 2,500 new charging connectors per quarter, albeit for its global network, but without government assistance. If the Biden administration were to add a whole new set of policy changes, they would once again be attempting to pick winners and losers, which historically has not been the government's forte. And by the way, stop using Yahoo Finance, stop using Google Finance, and have a look at our website, themarketisopen.com, where we have instant stock quotes and financial data going back 10 years, and it's all freely available. Back in 2009, the Department of Energy had a program for advanced technology vehicles manufacturing, for which they gave loans to the automotive industry in order to meet higher mileage requirements and less dependence on foreign oil. Ford, for instance, was given $6 billion, for which it has yet to repay the loan. Tesla actually received $465 million, which it paid back in full in 2013. Other companies, such as Fisker, took government loan money and shortly thereafter went bankrupt. Japanese company Nissan had also taken loan money to build more efficient vehicles in the US, and it paid back the loan in 2017. Now, this money wasn't just used to develop primarily EVs. While Tesla was all in on electric vehicles and had no ICE side business to worry about, Ford, for instance, used the funds to enhance their engines and convert certain truck plants into car plants, still making ICE vehicles. Also at the time, General Motors had gone bankrupt and was bailed out by the government since the company was too big to fail. The government estimates that it lost about $11 billion on General Motors' bailout, so the legacy US automakers effectively owe a significant debt to the US taxpayer even up until today. Amazingly enough, however, the government has done it again. The US Department of Energy is reviving this advanced technology vehicles manufacturing loan program to loan General Motors more money. Surprisingly, this is the first loan it has made since 2010 and will amount to $2.5 billion issued towards a battery plant for General Motors jointly working with LG. The venture, called Ultium Cells, is part of a $7 billion investment by GM and LG in order to build 3 new lithium-ion battery plants in the US. If history were to repeat itself, taxpayers should not expect this loaned-out money to be returned. Back in 2009, General Motors' shareholders were completely wiped out during the company's bankruptcy. The government owned a piece of the new General Motors and sold its shares trying to recoup a portion of their rescue investment. What exists today is the new, reorganized General Motors of that time, which is actually a company with a strong balance sheet and flush with cash. GM has over $16 billion of cash on hand as of the middle of this year, and continues to rake in billions of dollars quarter after quarter. The company technically doesn't need this loan from the government and can finance it themselves along with LG, but it appears that GM CEO Mary Barra requires as much government assistance as possible at every step of the way, which actually expresses a lack of long-term stability, but the Biden administration is very much inclined to provide that assistance. Furthermore, GM's electric vehicle sales have been struggling to say the least. The company's primary EV, the Chevy Bolt, was halted at the end of last year due to battery issues, which has impacted sales. GM shares have already sunk 49% so far this year to reflect the difficult environment. While GM believes it can catch up to Tesla in 3 years from now, it certainly hasn't shown that it's capable of doing so. It's unclear what would happen to General Motors if it can't transition enough of its new car sales into EVs by 2030 or 2035, while Tesla and even other Chinese automakers begin to eat into the overall auto market share. At the same time, the current backdrop consists of a slowing economy that could already be in or potentially be entering a recession, given that the US has drastically raised interest rates in order to put the brakes on the economy and slow down rising inflation. Interestingly, if a black swan event were to occur just as it did in 2008, it makes a lot of sense for GM to begin taking out loans now, or effectively small bailouts before there are any critical issues or cracks in the business that appear, in order to secure government money. If GM needs some sort of loan or bailout down the road, the government would be more obliged to once again step in, since it's been investing in GM this entire time as the government tries to pick winners using its superficial methodology. Even more mind-boggling, however, is that with all of the backing from Joe Biden and his administration, General Motors has decided to manufacture their next electric vehicle, the Chevy Blazer, in Mexico. Biden overlooks key details such as this when praising the company and only cites how many jobs may be created in the US. However, there are many jobs that are being outsourced to other countries that could have been brought into the US. Elon Musk replied to the news in what TheStreet.com strangely called an attack on GM and Joe Biden, but Elon simply called out the fact that Teslas are the most made in the USA vehicles. This comes full circle to Biden's support for GM despite the automaker building its vehicles outside the country, versus Biden's lack of support for Tesla, which is actually creating many more jobs local to the US. The incentives of the administration seem to be distorted in favor of the unions and appear to be misaligned with what's best for the future of the country. So do you think that GM should continue to get government loans funded by taxpayer money, given that the company has taken money in the past and was unable to return it? Don't forget to check out our last videos on Ford and General Motors. Please hit the like button and subscribe, we would really appreciate that. And a huge shout out to all of our patrons that help to support our channel. Your support helps us to continue to make great content. Thank you guys so much for watching.